Welcome back to the podcast, Michelle.
Woohoo! Glad to be back. Time flies. It's
Yes.
been a year, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a year. It doesn't even feel that long ago, but also we're connected on all the social media apps. So I feel like I just always see you and I'm keeping up with everything that you're doing.
The podcast that I was on, like the episode that I was on, was my first ever podcast. And
Oh
I was
yeah, I
such a
remember that.
baby back then. Yeah. So it's just kind of wild to look back and realize how much time has passed and how many things have happened in between. Crazy.
Yeah, what are some things that you've been up to?
Well, I am now going into year three of business, which is kind of wild because I never thought that. I mean, year three to other people might sound really, really short of a time, but to me, it feels really long because every year feels so different. Like there's just so much happening, so much transformation within each year that right now, going to year three, I'm just like, okay, let's see what this year holds. But yeah, I've completely reimagined my business model. I have gotten to work with so many amazing people in between. Like it's kind of, I was just listing down all the clients that I've worked with the other day, just as like a reflection and business planning activity. And it's just kind of wild to see how many people I've been able to connect with through this
Mhm.
business over the year. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like there's so much resentment around social media, but then social media was also the thing that allowed me to be in this business. So it's
Yeah.
always, yeah, I'm always grateful for it.
Yeah, that's so cool. I feel like it's such an eye opener or just a really great looking back process to see how many people you've supported or you've worked with. Do you know how many people that's been?
Oh my gosh. Well, it was a bullet point list, so it wasn't numbered.
Mm.
But the number has grown significantly because back then, before I kind of got serious about bringing my business online, I worked with clients in real life, and that kind of limited the amount of people that I could work with because it was very
Mhm.
in person. Like each project was very much retainer based. So I think I was only working with like a maximum of four at a time. But
Okay.
then now, I think even just as of 2026, like it's March right now, I've worked with 15 around, and that's just this year. So that's just,
Oh,
but of
wow.
course, my offers have changed, like the structure is different, but that just shows the difference between, marketing or business on socials versus just relying on in-person interactions only.
I feel like when you're working online with clients, you can streamline and simplify a lot of processes, which I'm sure that we'll talk about structure and planning and all of that jazz. Though, even speaking of social media, so the last time that you were on Dear Creator, we were talking a lot about how to show up on social media, how to create content, things like that. And anyone who hasn't heard it yet, they can go scroll back on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to find the episode specifically, but I'll probably link it as well. Though the main conversation and perspective that came up was showing your face in content is non-negotiable as a business owner. Do you still believe in that?
500%. In fact, I feel like it's more important now. I feel like back then people were kind of still tiptoeing around it, like that you could still kind of get by without showing your face. There were options, but with content evolving into what it is today, I feel like it is definitely a non-negotiable. It's kind of interesting too to see. So like I'm just drawing from my experiences with working with clients back then, like 2 years ago, a lot of them were still very much around the whole like, oh, can I just film B-roll and then just slap text over my reel?
Mhm.
But then now when I work with clients, they are the ones telling me, I kind of want to try talking head reels. Like I think I'm ready.
Oh,
I want to film myself. Like, but what do I film? And like the questions are totally different from what they were 2 years ago, which goes again. So this is not just me saying, it's more like even my observations around what clients are valuing right now. It's definitely changed. And I'm kind of glad that it's this way because it just humanizes content so much more. I mean, remember the 1 second reels, the hacks, the trends, like just looking back makes me feel so icky as a consumer because I feel like I'm being lied to in some way. So I'm really glad to see where content is headed. Sure, competition is higher, but I feel like this is where putting your heart in the work and having thought in your content can really stand out.
Yeah, that's probably makes it more fun with like for you as somebody who supports people with content creation and content marketing to hear that like um desire. from your clients too.
Yeah. And for me, storytelling is a big thing. Like I love telling stories. I feel like storytelling is the best way to get information across. And to tell a good story, you kind of have to have a human element in it. So if people are more open to sharing their face, sharing their stories, it just levels up the way they convey information by that much. Yes, yeah. It's a really fun time to be doing
Yeah.
content.
Awesome. Yeah, in the past episode, we talked a lot about just different ways to easing yourself into showing your face as well. So, yeah, anybody who's listening who wants literally a crash course on content creation and content marketing, go check out the previous episode that Michelle was on. But I'd love to go back to the first time you started creating content or building your business. What was your relationship planning or structure when it came to launching content and offer development?
When I first started my business, I obviously had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't even launching my services. I just kind of started an account and started creating whatever content that I thought I needed to create. So whatever I was scrolling and seeing, I would save them, and then I I turned that information into my branding. And I didn't even have branding back then. I was just like using whatever Canva gave me. So it was a lot of recycle information and it didn't have structure. I was posting so much because, yes, when you are starting out, frequency does help because it gives you data to work with and it gets your reps in. But I was posting daily, just recreating whatever content I saw. Like there was no structure to it. It was just kind of, I wake up today and I decide to post something. So zero structure, and I burnt out really quickly. And this was also the time where I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to quit social media and just quit marketing on social media, sorry, and
Mm-hmm.
focus on referrals and just networking in real life. But I'm an
Mm-hmm.
introvert. Like these kinds of things tire me out. I can't be meeting people every single day just for the potential of signing them on as a client. So that couldn't work. And I knew that I wanted to kind of get serious about social media. I'm a marketing girly, so I come from corporate where everything is planned. Sometimes we plan campaigns 1 month ahead, well, no, 1 year ahead. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of planning is involved, and at every step and point, you kind of know what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So every piece of resource that you have is very clearly laid out and you know what it's all leading to. So I kind of adopted that mindset and applied it to my own content.
Mm-hmm.
And I started planning out, like, obviously, the first thing that I feel like anyone should do to introduce some structure into their social media marketing is to have some sort of idea of what your content themes are. Content themes, content conversations, content pillars, buckets, they all mean the same thing. It's just a high level structure of what you stand for and what you want to be talking about. So once I had that down, ideation became so much easier because then I wasn't recycling information that I saw online. I was
Mm-hmm.
able to kind of speak from the heart because all of these content themes were tied back to me. So then I realized, okay, now that I've gotten my reps in and I kind of understand what I want to create and what I don't really like, I could come up with a proper plan at any month or any week and really decide, okay, what are these month's goals? Why am I creating content? What offers do I want it to lead to? What do I want to sell more of? And this is where the concept of launching your offers also comes in really handy, because when you're launching, you're giving your offer a focused moment. So that way, when you're thinking about marketing in a campaign, all your efforts, all roads lead to that specific offer. So that
Mm-hmm.
slowly, like I used that method and it really helped me significantly. Started teaching that to clients, everything just kind of snowballed into what it is today. So I would say like having structure really, really saved my business and saved my relationship with social media even.
And I think also with like the content themes and having a plan and knowing what types of content you're creating, it's not like you're starting from scratch every time, because I think a lot of people, they can have like a bunch of ideas, of course, but then they have a bunch of ideas and they might get overwhelmed. Or maybe they sit down and they're like, I need to market my business. I need to create content to sell an offer, but I'm not inspired. I don't know what to post. Like, how would you approach that?
For people who have too many ideas, the first thing I would do is filter them through your content themes. If you have 100 ideas, I can guarantee you 50 are probably overlapping, and then the other 20 are not even part of your themes. Like they're not pressing enough for you to want to be creating content on. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely use your content themes as like this little filter that shows you what what the most high quality content pieces are, and then obviously planning ahead. What I do is at the beginning of every month or at the end of every month, I make sure that I have a rough plan for the coming month. So if it's March right now, I make sure that I have a plan for April, a loose plan. It doesn't have to be like you don't have to commit to it 100%, but having a loose plan just kind of forces you to think about, okay, what do I want to focus on? What am I marketing in April? What do I need? What kinds of content do I need to be creating? Which themes do I need to be pulling from to support that offer? So it
Mm-hmm.
gives you a plan so that when April comes along, you're not in survival mode, because when you're in survival mode, you are not being creative. You're operating
Mm-hmm.
out of desperation and fear, and that just kind of clouds your thoughts. So having a plan just kind of gives you a structure to fall back on, worst case scenario. But
Mm-hmm.
best case scenario, you go back to your planning. You're like, okay, I have an even better idea. Let me replace this. Um, yeah. So when I say plan, I also like I feel like I'm yapping away about a plan, but when I say plan, I visualize a visual calendar, something that you can see. So that's another thing with planning in general in life as well. Make sure that it's visual. If it's in your head and if it's not a visual artifact that you can see, you're going to forget it. You're not going to commit to it. And then you're going to add fluff in your mind to whatever plan you thought you had. So make it visual.
Yeah.
Have a content calendar, or like maybe this is why people make lists. I love lists because you can kind of see and remember
Mm-hmm.
and not like overstuff things in your mind. That's another like random tip. Like make your plans visual.
Yeah, I think that's such a good tip because also you can't keep all of that in your mind. It's like mental overload. No wonder people feel overwhelmed or stressed or scattered because they're trying to use their mind as like a folder, you know?
Right, right. Even with content ideas, I know people who kind of see a post and then they save it. Saving it is just an action. Sometimes people don't even go
Hmm.
back to the save folder, but they kind of remember it and they rely on that. But you're not going to remember it. You're going to either forget what the concept actually was because you're going to cloud it with the rest of the stuff in your mind, or you're not just going to forget it. So what I do is also either put it in a notes app. I email it to myself immediately so that I can then drag it over to my visual content plan on Notion. Or I have this, because I have multiple accounts on Instagram,
Hmm.
I started a group chat with all my accounts. It's just us, like
Oh,
me, myself, and I. And whenever
yeah.
I'm scrolling on either profiles, like my personal, my business one, I will just send that I want to bookmark to that group chat. And that serves as like a little hub that I can come back to when I want to transfer all my ideas over to my laptop. So
That's so
putting
smart.
them in one place instead of saving them in multiple accounts across, yeah, multiple days. That's a
Yeah, I
disaster.
definitely need to do that because I
Yeah,
have four Instagrams, one for Dear
there you
Creator,
go.
one for Soft Pivot, one for Morgan Markowski, and then I have a personal account. And I feel like each feed is so different. So whenever I see
Exactly.
inspiration, yeah, like having some sort of DM system or group chat is
Yeah.
so smart.
And you can kind of text yourself too, like you forward a reel to the group chat and then you just like quickly bring down, like, I think this could work for this offer, or like, I think this could work for like June, and then put it there. And you have everything in place visually.
Yeah, for sure. So before you created the structure and system for yourself to create content, when you were just kind of thinking of it on the spot or doing what you thought you had to do or just kind of winging it, did that sort of like chaos or disorganization or lack of planning trickle into your life as well? Like sometimes I feel like we blend life and business really well. Sometimes people can't do that at all, but sometimes if you're disorganized in your business, it could maybe lead into some other issues like in your life and stuff.
Of course, because I was reactively posting, when I mentioned I wake up and I decide, oh, shoot, I need to post today to hit my target. It definitely affected the way I functioned in real life. Like I would drop, like if I had plans to go meet someone for coffee, I would either kind of flake on them and say like, I can't, I'm too busy today. Too busy doing what? Like too
Mm,
busy trying to create content at the last minute. Or I would just get like my mood would shift. Like I would just get really anxious and just like not, I wasn't chill. And looking back at that first phase of business, my mental health was at its all-time low. And I kind of attribute that to lack of structure. So that was one. And then another one was the fact that I felt like I was oversharing just because I was literally replicating what I saw online. I was trying to be someone I wasn't. So if you have pieces of content where it's like if the b-roll is a get ready with me kind of b-roll where she's like putting on lipstick and putting on makeup, and then when I tried to do that, it didn't feel like me. Like, yes, I put on
Mm-hmm.
makeup, but then it's just not one of those things that I know how to film well, nor do I feel comfortable doing. It's just like not one of my elements. So I was trying to recreate that, and then obviously it would look weird, and then I would beat myself up for it just because I couldn't achieve what I thought I needed to do. So that kind of confused me a little. Like, was I bad at content, or like was I oversharing? Where is the line? And then it just kind of messed with my mind a little because I felt like I was losing myself in the process.
You said, like, where's the line? Have you figured out how to draw that line between what to share and what not to share?
Yeah, that's a big conversation. So I'm all about blending your personal life or your personality, shall I say, with your work because you need some sort of life in your business for people to be able to remember you and trust you and feel like they are excited to work with you. So, but when you're thinking about infusing your personality, there are certain elements and things that you tie to your business because it supports you being a human. But then there are also elements and things that you don't have to. Like, you don't have to, how do I say this? You don't have to hide everything, but then you also don't have to share everything. So sitting
Mm-hmm.
down again, just having a conversation with yourself and deciding what does my blend of personal and professional look like? What am I comfortable sharing and what what is okay? There has to be some sort of a blend, whether it's 50-50, 60-40, 70-30. There has to be some sort of a blend because at the end of the day, as an online business owner specifically, or even like a creator in today's age, you're not just selling a product on a shelf. Like, we are not lifeless products. We are a person selling our perspective, our process, and our presence. So there has to be some sort of life element into it, in it. So, and I feel like the people who navigate that blend of personal and professional are the ones who have competitive advantage in today's online business landscape. So having that really honest
Ooh, yeah.
conversation with yourself, what do I want to share and what do I not? What is strictly off limits and what is okay?
It makes me think about how you share that, you've done runs with your husband or like stuff like that, but like you cover his face. I was like, the mystery husband, I need to see what he looks like, but you're like, no, no, no.
No, no, no. Yeah, so that's one of my no-nos, right? My husband is very much a huge part of my life. Like, we live together. We don't have kids right now, so it's like very much just us having like fun, having like literally having sleepovers with my best friend every single day. So he is a huge part of my life, and a lot of things that I post on my stories, he's probably there next to me. He's just not
Hmm.
photographed. And in the beginning, so this is where taking action gives you more information to work with too. In the beginning, I it was a hard no. Like, I thought that I would not even hint that I had a husband. Like, I do not want to bring that part of my life into my online business. So it was very much just me, 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 me. But then as time went by and I felt more comfortable creating and I felt happier sharing because it became more fun, I started infusing the activities that I was doing with him. So like the runs, getting coffee or traveling. I started referencing my husband, my husband, my husband. And that felt okay because but then like that felt okay simply because I got my practice in. Like, it didn't feel so foreign anymore.
Hmm.
And then we graduated to maybe like showing his back, and then some pictures that I really wanted to share, he's in it, but then I look good, so I want to share it. Yeah, so I but that's like a line that I will not cross. Like, I don't feel like it's fair to him either. So yeah, I put a little cutie emoji against his face, but we've come a long way. Who knows? Maybe like a year from now, I'll share his face and he'll like be featured in my content. But at the moment, that is a line that I have drawn.
I just like imagine me posting a picture of my dog Leia and like putting an emoji over her face. It's like you can't see her.
Mystery dog. No, but I feel
Yeah.
like pets are different though.
They're so different, so different. But I think it's also just a really great example. So thank you for sharing like the thought process and how you went through that, like different phases of what was comfortable, what wasn't, what you've created a boundary around because a lot of people they share everything. And I mean, in some ways, go for it, but if you think of it in a more maybe strategic brand way, or just business professional things like that, or maybe even just the confidence levels that you have of showing up on social media, like it just goes to show you don't have to show everything. You can create a line.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like we overthink these things. So one of the things that I always share with my clients is to have a creator mindset. I'm not asking you to be an influencer, just think like one. Because when you observe influencers or creators who are creating like lifestyle content, not so much online service providers, they are making the biggest deals out of everything. They have that energy, they have that like they build in public. It's very obvious that they are just kind of bringing you along the process, no matter how big or how small. They're going on a flight and they're vlogging it. It's just going on a flight. We're not even there yet at the destination.
Mm-hmm.
So having this creator mindset kind of helps you see more opportunities in what pieces of life you're able to share. Like you don't have to share where your destination is, for example, but you can kind of bring people along the process and say like, I'm at the airport, see ya, something like that. Or if you
Mm-hmm.
are just literally working from home all day, like me, I'm home every single day. Like my life is not that interesting. Like I don't go out all the time. Literally just taking a photo of your morning coffee routine. I'm making a like essentially thinking like a creator. I'm making a big deal out of something so mundane like making coffee. And that itself is content. You can film B-roll with it, you can post stories with it, you can use it as a backdrop for whatever other selling information that you want to put on your stories. Yeah, so having that creator mindset and making and not being afraid of making a big deal out of the smaller things, because trust me, even the most boring small things going on in your life are interesting to a first time viewer who doesn't
Mm-hmm.
live with you, who doesn't know you in person.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say to those who are like, I don't want to film my life. I don't want to post, or I don't want to take pictures all the time when I'm out getting pizza with my friends or going to a concert or traveling. What would you say to them?
Decide on the boundaries and honor them. I go to a lot of places after work, or like I go to concerts after work too sometimes, that I don't share on online just because I feel like it's not part of my lore, if
Mm-hmm.
that's like a better way to explain it. Which goes back to the elements, right? Like think about who you are as an online business. What do you stand for? What are your elements? What are the things that you feel comfortable sharing, and what are off limits? I don't share my parents. Like my I spend a lot of time with my parents. The world knows nothing about them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sometimes I travel to different cities that I don't share online just because I feel like I just want that experience to be mine, and I kind of want to disconnect a little. But that's yeah. So knowing where to draw the line and
Mm-hmm.
being and honoring that. But again, there has to be some sort of ratio going on, whether it's 50-50, 70-30, 80-20. Unfortunately, in today's world, blending that personal life and professional life is required if you want to market yourself really well on social media. As a consumer, look at where your attention goes to. Like if someone was just posting stock videos, you're gonna scroll past. Like you're not gonna be interested, right? As opposed to someone who is like maybe feeding their pet at home or like going to the gym, that kind of draws you in. So look at like if you need proof, just look at your own behaviors as a consumer. That's what I always go back to. Like don't even compare yourself to other people in your industry. Just go back to you as a user and what you gravitate to.
Yeah, I think that's a really great way to look at it. And also just practicing that consumption before you create too. I know people say create before you consume, but sometimes it's nice to kind of like see it before you, maybe not before you do it, but just to create this like identity
Awareness.
for your brand. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I actually have maybe I don't want to call it spicy, but a lot of people say things like create before you consume. I feel like that's a little extreme. There has to be a balance. You kind of have to consume also to understand what is happening in your industry, what
Hmm.
are the topics people are talking about, and even just like maybe for my job is social media, obviously, so I kind of have to be in touch with what the editing styles are, like what is working, what is not. But then even if you're a copywriter, for example, you kind of have to be out consuming too to understand what words would, I might be butchering this, but like what words may resonate better, or like what the
Mhm.
preferred language is these days, right? So you definitely have to consume at to some degree. You and also like we also have the whole factor of if you're just going to create in silo and just churn out content and not be the kind of consumer that you want to attract, it's there's an energy mismatch over there. Like
Mhm.
there's a like you can't sit with me energy going on, and I feel like that is very dangerous because then you're not modeling the behavior that you want to be receiving. So definitely have some sort of balance in terms of consuming and creating. There's a saying, be a villager, like definitely be around and mix with people, right? You can't
Mhm.
just be creating and creating all the time and just turning up posts, and but expecting high returns just from sitting at your, on your couch creating and not consuming.
Yeah, that's such a good point because even as a consultant, coach, creator, I see a lot of people in my industry be like, put up the blinders. But I think it's more so of like they don't want to see what others in their industry are doing. But in some ways, I think it's important, especially as somebody who is building a brand, because it creates a challenge of coming up with your own unique perspective or just doing things that you know could attract your clients and things like that.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
some level of observation and participation is required in any business, not just online. I feel like offline businesses, you have to kind of know what's happening and then just stay informed instead of working in a silo. That just like if you're in a silo, that just puts you in an echo chamber and you just kind
Mhm.
of don't know, you're not growing, you're not informed, and you're just kind of operating based off of vibes. And that's dangerous.
Yeah. And I think like even in like marketing or just in that sort of industry, whether you're in corporate or not, it's just a standard almost
Yeah.
to be
There's a
aware.
whole, yeah, and there are teams formed just for market research, purely for market
Hmm.
research. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering how you think about structure when it comes to creating and creativity, because sometimes people are like, structure can limit creativity because I'm trying to be so rigid and, by the rule books that we create for ourselves and stuff like that. How does structure help with creativity?
I think that having structure actually sets the conditions for you to be spontaneous and creative. A lot of people think that putting a plan in place means I am limiting myself to other things. But when you leave everything up to chance, when you're just operating off of fun and vibes and what if and mate and all the maybes, you nothing's gonna move. Not you're just again working reactively. You don't really know what you're working towards, what it's all contributing to, and then you start to resent the act of maybe like creating content or whatever it is you're doing because you feel like it's not going anywhere. And
Mm,
this is where a lot of the resentment around social media comes up from. I feel like the lack of structure is because people are not clear enough on why they're doing this or why they're creating a specific content. They're just either creating posts based on vibes. So they film like a day in my life, but then how does that day in a life relate back to you? How does that relate back to your work? Or if you have an offer that you're marketing, how does that relate back to your offer? But then you
mhm,
see, like a lot of these personality filled content types are very much more low lift than the more serious ones. So a lot of people gravitate towards that. And then when they create that in volume, where does it all lead to? So yes,
mhm,
that's you being creative and having fun and embracing that whole spontaneous nature of creating off the cuff. But at some point, you also need to have some sort of predictability to know that all your efforts are leading somewhere, or like what's coming, what's happening at any given point. Maybe this is also the type A in me speaking, but I, how do I say this? Having structure not just gives you a plan, but having structure also gives you more confidence to show up every day and do the thing because you kind of know what's coming up and what's needed. And once you have a plan in place, then you're able to experiment freely because you know that whatever happens, you know where it's all leading to. Or if something doesn't go well, at least you have a plan to fall back on. Remember, the structure is just a plan to fall back on thing that I mentioned earlier. Having a plan or structure gives you more room to be creative and
Mhm.
play because you have that confidence in you.
Yeah, for sure. I love that idea because I'm definitely somebody who I feel like is a structured person. Yeah, I am a structured person.
You are 100% are.
I'm such a structured person and I'm always thinking ahead. And sometimes when I pre plan, I'm scrapping what I don't want to do anymore, or maybe it's an energy thing as well. But I do feel like a spike of confidence when I have a plan in place because it's like, I got my shit together. Like, I'm going to do this. And sometimes feel a little guilty or shame if I don't go through with the plan. But what would you advise people to do if they had a plan in place, but maybe they missed out on a few things that was planned for the week and they couldn't get to it? What would you tell them to do with what they planned and how to scrap, or just what
Mhm.
steps would you tell them to take after that?
This is in terms of content, right? Like a content calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first thing that I want you to reflect on is, did you overplan? Did you overcommit? If you have never done a voiceover reel before, did you put in 3 voiceover reels this week?
Mm.
Start, again, this is the risk averse side of me speaking.
Hmm.
Start small and then scale. Once you get your practice in, you're going to grow that content muscle, which will enable you to do more later. But then you can't expect to go from a zero to creator level 100 in 1 week. That just does not happen.
Yeah.
Content is very much a practice. Look back at my content 3 years ago. It's very different from the content it is today. Just because I got a lot of practice in, and I've been obviously putting time into it. So one, look at whether you overcommitted. Two, which is something that I also practice, is set an enough goal in your mind.
Hmm.
My ideal number per week of posts to go out is 3, because I feel like 3 is a not too much, not too little number. So ideally it's 3, but then my enough goal is 2. I might reduce that to 1, just because capacity has been crazy recently, but 2 as of now is the number that I feel happy with. So that way, if I'm only able to put out 2 posts per week, I'm not beating myself up for it. That was my enough goal and I'm happy with it. But then maybe if a marketing season comes and I really need to amp up the conversation around that, I'll up it to 4. So like start from 3, my enough goal is 2, and then my go hard goal is 4. When you have that enough goal, you kind of adjust your expectations a little. You're not putting so much pressure on yourself to
Hmm.
meet a number that you probably just set because someone else told you to. Set a number
Yeah.
and then subtract 1. That's my best advice. So that's
Yeah.
another tip, or like another way to make yourself feel better when you feel like your content plan is just like not working. And then the third is to zoom out, far out, and look back at your goals for even doing this. I feel like a lot of us start businesses, create an account, which is super simple. You can start a business in the morning and have an account by night or within the hour. And we
Hmm.
feel like we have to do it because that's just what everyone's doing. Like, obviously
Yeah.
you're on social media. Everyone's on social media, right? Zoom out and ask yourself, why are you on social media? So I'll share a bit about like my personal, like very, very personal reasons. And I'm not
Yes.
talking
Tell
about
us
like,
everything.
no, like I'm not here to, obviously, because we all want to make money. We're all businesses, right?
Hmm.
So, but looking beyond the money part, like if I really wanted to get honest with myself, it's that creative freedom that I really, really like. I came from working with marketing teams where I had to kind of just listen to what the big bosses were saying. I didn't have creative freedom. I had really good campaign ideas that they just weren't risky enough to want to do, and it just kind of, I was like burned over and over again with putting out my ideas and like just having them being shelved. So now that I'm on social media and I'm able to create very visual things, it really feeds my creativity. I'm very
Hmm.
happy creating content because that side of my brain lights up. So that is
Hmm.
one of my core like personal reasons. I like feeding my creativity. And then another is, I want to build a brand. I want to build a world around my brand. baby steps. I'm not there yet, but that's like my why I'm doing what I'm doing. I can, there are people who create very casual content without all the editing, without, they don't even have carousel templates, but I invest in things like that and I put effort into things like that because shit like that matters to me. Like it's just a me thing. Like I value things that look cohesive. I everything has to be on theme, and that's something that creating content has allowed me to do. It allows me to curate my grid, allows me to edit things in my fonts, my colors, and like everything just looks on brand. And that's like a personal value of mine. So those are like my very, very selfish reasons. And then obviously there's also the part where I actually consider like what other marketing platforms would give me what social media is giving me. Not a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Social media has two-way conversation. Email
And
does,
when you
and
use
bigger
social media, like what are you talking about?
Instagram. I'm just like having
Okay.
Instagram in my mind, and maybe TikTok, but I'm not
Yeah.
a TikTok pro, so TikTok's a whole different conversation. Like with Instagram, it allows me to have two-way conversations, two-way casual conversations. It allows me to show things visually, so I'm able to comfortably show my face, show bits, and like film things and like show how things look in my world.
Mm-hmm.
Other platforms don't really give me that. Like email does give you two-way conversation to a certain extent, but you're limited to whatever base you have, like whatever audience base that you have built. But socials gives me that avenue. So those are
Mm-hmm.
like the three really, really honest reasons why I chose to market my business on social media and why it is till today my main marketing platform. Going back to the question, sit down and get honest with yourself. Like why there has to be some selfish reason why we are all creating content. It doesn't have to be the whole branding thing like me. It doesn't have to be the whole like creative muscle thing that I talked about, but there has to be a reason. Is it just a quicker way to reach your people? Is it just, you know, having control over building something that is yours instead of relying on other people, for example? Like there has to be a reason. So whenever you feel like giving up or whenever things get really hard, zoom out into those reasons and then you'll remember, okay, yeah, that this is why I'm doing this, and that's why all of this effort over the long run will compound.
I feel like having that purpose is really important, or having those values is really important. And I think a lot of people actually do care about the visual aspect of it. And you mentioned templates, and I feel like that's another thing that really helps with the structure and planning ahead, because you don't have as much decision fatigue when it comes to designing a carousel or maybe email marketing stuff.
Yeah, I swear by templates. I didn't have them when I was starting out. Again, if this is something that you have the capacity to invest in, I would highly recommend that, especially if you're creating content week after week. In the beginning, I would kind of wing my designs. I would just kind of create. And like I feel like I'm an okay designer. I'm not
You're
like
good at design. You're creative.
yeah, but then I don't have like I'm not designer level. So I was just kind of
Okay.
winging it. But then what I realized is one, it took a lot of time. That's one, obviously. But then
Hmm.
two, I wasn't very happy with whatever I was putting out. Like, you
Okay.
know how it really like all these little things that you can't see truly affect your relationship with social media. I'm putting out something and I'm like, it's not my best work. I don't like it. Am I like, is this bad? And then God forbid it doesn't get engagement. And you're like, oh, must have been my design. Like, it
Yeah, it's always the design, but
yeah, or like I
or that's the
suck, I'm not good
feeling.
at it. Yeah, so there's this like bad energy when you put out something that you are overthinking.
Hmm.
So one of the ways for me to eliminate that was to just get templates. And I intentionally didn't buy like somehow they have templates where you can kind of buy and then you adapt it to yours. It's not custom to you. I intentionally
Hmm.
didn't want that as well because I wasn't going to be happy with whatever I adapted either. I really wanted it
Yeah.
to be on brand according to my theme, which is why I invested in it. And again, to each their own. Mine was definitely driven from again my goals for being on social media, which is the whole like I wanted to build a world around my brand. I wanted everything to be on theme. It's just something that I value, which is why I decided to invest in templates. So it cut down the time required to create carousels, but then it also made me happy putting them out because
Yeah.
now I'm like, okay, this is cute and I feel good about it.
I feel like when people go to your social media, like Instagram, they definitely are stepping into the Hello Lemon world. It's just
Yay!
it's so clear, and it's it's just like you did such a good job. So I hope you're like super proud of yourself
Oh,
for that.
well, now I am, now that you're mentioning this. Thank
Yay.
you.
Well, I know too, what's been really fun to watch is how consistent you are with like launching your offers. Are there any tips that you could share for anybody who's promoting services or offers or products and wanting to create a marketing plan to sell and try to have it be consistent and sustainable for them?
Well, firstly, start early, have a plan. I always have a plan. Shout out to Launch Your Own Way, Kelsey's program. I did it a while ago, like 3 years ago, and she had this launch calendar that she gives to all her students. Up till today, I'm still using it. I've adapted it a little to suit my eyes, but have a plan. Once you have a calendar in place, like having it visually, you kind of know what needs to be done, how much in advance, and it helps you plan so much better. So one is going back, I mean, staying on theme with our conversation today, have a plan. But two is more of a mindset thing that I always remind myself. We are business owners. We are still here to sell a product. You can have your lifestyle bits, you have your personality, which is required to a certain degree. Think about the ratios that I mentioned earlier, but you have to also grow with thick skin to market your services. Trust me when I say that people don't remember when you've mentioned it once or twice. People skim, they don't read. So you have to grow a thick skin and be able to repeat what you're selling over and over and over again. And maybe if you have the capacity, go multi-platform, do email, socials, threads. If you have YouTube, do it, make it like a whole moment. It's like a series of targeted moves, right? For any campaign. And I'm drawing in words from like my corporate past, which is kind of like triggering me a little. But that is that like if they taught me anything, is that all roads have to lead to a certain goal. Whether that goal back then was acquisition or retention or just like selling more, clearing stock or anything like that, there has to be a goal and all roads have to lead to that. Every department is in sync. Everyone is working towards, everyone knows what's happening in June, and all roads are leading towards that. So whether if you have a like an omni-channel approach, make it a whole thing. Like all roads lead to that. If you look at like right now, I'm launching one of my offers. If you look at my content, literally everything leads over there. All my threads lead there. And yeah, it just helps with recall because people know what you're talking about. You're repeating it so many times. Obviously, with variety, like don't just copy and paste the same things over and over again. Have some
Mhm.
variety, but have that, grow that thick skin to be okay talking about your services and marketing it. Like you have to put on your marketing hat at least once a day.
And so basically, it's having that goal and then having all platforms that you primarily use. You use email, Instagram, and threads, right?
Threads. Yeah, I'm kind of trying to scale back on threads. I
Hmm.
know you have a lot to say about that.
Go check
Yeah.
out my video on Instagram about me just talking about threads.
Yes.
I'm not on there anymore, and I feel good
Yeah,
about it.
I'm scaling back. I'm scaling back because I kind of want to focus my efforts more on content, like up leveling my content and
Hmm.
also trying out new strategies via email. That's the fun thing about marketing. You get to like experiment with different platforms and try different styles.
I love experimenting. Yeah, so yeah, that I mean that makes sense. So you have a goal to kind of like upskill, up level your content creation, right? Content marketing. So focusing a lot on that would make sense since Thread's mostly like a text post, right?
Yeah, and also because I'm spending way too much time on there and like
Personal boundaries.
yeah, some boundaries need to be set. I'm spending way too much time on it, not even for like work purposes anymore. I'm just like mindlessly scrolling. When I'm getting gas, I'm scrolling. When I'm like waiting in line for the dentist, I'm scrolling. It's not the best use of time. I'll leave it at that.
It's funny because Reddit has completely replaced Threads for me, but it's like a late night quick scroll because the text posts are so long. I only have so much time at night before I'm like passed out, but Reddit has been interesting to kind of just go down rabbit holes and read people's stories, and there's not as much selling on there unless you're obviously in like the business forums and
Yeah.
stuff.
And people are so generous. They actually share useful information and they go into detail, which is so interesting. I love going on Reddit after I've watched a TV show or like when I'm deep in a TV show and just like go on there and look at theories or like if I have questions about life, like why does I can't think of one now, but like random questions about general knowledge questions. Yeah, and then like people over there explain it in such detail. I love it. Such a chill
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, and you can control what you look for with the Reddit
Hmm.
forums. And I would say that because you can choose to be anonymous or not really have like a personal brand on there. I mean, you can if you want. If you want to be reactive emotionally, you can. Threads has caused so many people to show their real true selves like before having that filter. And I feel like that
Yeah.
kind of goes back to the conversation of having that boundary line between what you share and what you don't share. And I think I actually talked to Kelsey in our episode about reactively posting versus processing and then sharing something that's actually helpful. So people need to definitely
Yes.
go check out that episode.
Yes, having discernment is a lost skill,
Mhm.
especially I feel like platforms like Threads have kind of diminished that a little. We need to bring some of that discernment back and
Yes.
reinstall the filter.
Yeah, agreed. I feel like threads has been a theme this year. But,
Yes.
anyways, last question I have for you. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed this conversation so much, and I feel like it's another crash course with you because you provide so much value. So, I appreciate it. What would you
Oh,
tell business owners and creators who feel like they're losing themselves inside their business?
losing themselves with creating content or completely inside their business.
Like maybe that they just feel like they're losing the drive, losing the momentum, losing the direction, maybe losing confidence or losing a lot of losing themselves, you know?
Yeah, funnily, I went through this last year where I started questioning the purpose, like I was just losing it in business. Ask yourself, is it the work that you're doing or is it your circumstances?
Mm,
Because if it's the work that you're doing, then maybe it's time to close shop. Maybe it's time to move on to other things. Maybe it's time to go back to your full-time job. But if it's your circumstances, like if you don't have support, if you're confused all the time, if you are just overworked, maybe there are ways to hire people, hire support, upskill, learn to bring you up to speed and to not make you feel that way anymore. So there's a difference. It's
mhm,
either whether it's an intrinsic issue or an extrinsic issue. If it's intrinsic, then it's more of a you have to just ask yourself like, do I still want to be doing this? There's no point
mhm,
dragging your feet trying to do something that you are not in love with anymore. But then you're don't blame things around you for that.
mhm.
But then if it's extrinsic, then don't blame yourself for that. There are things that
Yeah.
can be changed in your situation to help you curb that feeling.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights, experiences, perspective, literally your expertise, everything. I feel like this was such a great episode. I love how we were able to dive into a lot of different topics around structure and systems and planning, branding, content, everything. If
Yay.
anybody wants to connect with Michelle, I'll definitely leave all of your social media links and website below, along with the episode we recorded last year. What are you selling right now that you would love to invite people into?
Right now, as of now, today, I am currently launching my Done For You Reels offer, where I create all your reels for your launch as a serial launcher. I wanted to bring that expertise to other people's launches. So right now that's happening. Maybe by the time you're listening to this, it might be on a wait list, but the offer will be around for a long time. So if that's something that you need support in, I'd love to help you with that. Otherwise, you can check out my Instagram or my website for the latest in Hello Lemon world.
Amazing. Awesome. Yeah, I worked with Michelle this last summer. She was super supportive on creating content, helping me come up with ideas, helping me find that baseline, which was, I believe, 2 posts a week. And then I was like, I have 5 ideas. And then we came up with like my entire strategy. She helped me identify my unique perspectives after shifting some things in my business that year. So I definitely highly recommend working with her and checking her out. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being on Dear Creator again. And maybe we'll see you next year.
It's like an annual thing. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me.